Welcome to The Message. Views expressed on The Message are not those of WUFO, station management, or its advertisers. And now, here's your host for The Message, Patrick Freeman.
It's Dr. Delbert Blair, metaphysician, historian, educator. He is one of the most extraordinary minds that we have throughout the African diaspora. He always makes predictions coming into the oncoming year, and we're going to hear a lot about his predictions that he has made and some of the things that he has talked about here before. Let me see if I can get my good friend and brother, Dr. Delbert Blair from Chicago. He is the executive director of the Meta Center, and you can reach the Meta Center via the internet at www.themetacenter.com. And I hope all of you pay close attention when we open the phone lines here at 837-1112. You will take advantage of this opportunity of having one of the great minds that we have throughout the African diaspora here on The Message. Let me see if Dr. Blair is on the line. Dr. Blair.
Good morning, Pat. How are you?
Good. How you doing this morning?
Doing well, thank you, especially now that you're talking with me.
Everything going okay?
Hey, could be better, but then if it was any better, then I wouldn't know I was on Earth, would I?
That's right. Well,
best I can with what I got and trying to exaggerate all the good parts.
How are things in Chicago?
Hey, cold. Same old thing. How's it there with you?
Oh, everything is good. Everything is good. Very cold in Buffalo, as you well know.
Yeah, I know. You guys really catch it when we don't, so I can't complain when I'm talking with you and listening to your audience. But your audience is vast and goes much further than Buffalo anyway, so you can get off and running with it.
Well, tell me what you've been working on, Doc.
Well, a lot of things, of course, ways to counteract all the negative, evil things that this regime does. We need a regime change. But again, it looks like it's going to be a planetary change because these people have even taken on the planet now, so you know what they think about us. But what I'd like to do would be to get into, won't be able to cover all of it, but I've got close to about 30, 40 predictions. What I want to do is to break down for your audience, though, a little bit. A prediction is what you feel will happen psychically or through meditation, research, and precognition, and say it's a gift. Prophecy is what some people state will happen, and their accuracy over time from moves it more or less from the realm of coincidence. They gain respect as being seers, psychics, prophets, shamans, orisas, so on and so forth like that. And then their books and scrolls and stuff like this are usually read and reread. And a probability is what could happen based on study, analysis, graphs, trends, historical statistics, and just plain common sense. So I want to say this first of all, and this is going to be controversial, I know. There are two statements that I like to use and believe in thoroughly. There is no truth until you decide what truth is. Secondly, sometimes a little knowledge separates you from the Creator, but most of the time a little wisdom sends you running back. And with that, we can get off and running if you think your audience is ready for it.
Well, I'm sure they are. They've heard you before, and they know that some of the things that they're going to hear this morning are exclusive to Dr. Delbert Blair because of the amount of research that you have done over a long period of time. Doc, how do you view, I know you were telling me yesterday about this NASCO plans. Now, first, can you just tell my audience what is NASCO and what are these plans?
Well, really, that was what I wanted to get into last because some of the predictions will lead to it.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, how do you want to do?
We can do that last.
Yeah, because that's the one I think will create the most controversy, because the rest of them, they'll say, well, what can we do about it anyway? But that's what it's leading into again. So if I can, I'd like to back into that later on after one prediction about the civil stuff that would be happening here in this country.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, stem cell controversy will grow larger as research on ambiotic and placental-based stem cells will be investigated and utilized rather than our own bone marrow cells, because there's not much money in that one because people would have to be healthy.
Right.
Body part usage by criminals for various medical researches would become an increasing problem and later on a scandal which will rock the government. Global warming will continue and the underlying reasons will be found to be not what has been suggested. Many animals will begin to attack people on all continents and all countries, and here in the United States, not only in rural areas, but later on into what we call municipal areas. The peso and then the yen will begin to be accepted in payment for merchandise here in the United States. Now, that, people say, how can that be? We'll see. UFO sightings will reach an all-time high this year, and especially in 2008, which then people will begin to report almost daily, seeing some kind of something that they're not sure what it was, but they thought they saw it in the sky. The use of implants and encryptions in pets and later on in humans who have customary, what we would call government jobs, will grow starting this year, and it will get worse and worse. Reports of proof of life on our moon, Mars, Venus, the moons of Saturn, and signals from the Milky Way will increase.
You're already hearing that, right?
Oh, it's starting. It's going to get better. Harmful radiation, which we call extra low frequency or alpha wave devices, will be used more and more to control people and to exaggerate what we think is common occurrences.
And they
where do we go from here? Radioactive sand with gold flecks in many of the deserts in Africa will be found, and also the Great Pyramid will show that they have some of this sand in them. And it will be found that the Middle Pyramid, the one that they referred to as Khufu's Pyramid again, was a scalar power generator. And they'll find much more, which they'll have to start suppressing, and so for a while tourism will be cut off from the Great Pyramid starting with the end of this year. Verifications of findings of buildings and structures on our moon will be leaked out. They're already beginning to do that, and they're trying to break it to the people slowly and surely. New life forms will be found in our oceans, in our rivers, and in our lakes. Broadcast diseases, which would be recognized and invented, which will be recognized, inventions will be made to interrupt those kind of broadcast diseases to the dismay of those that created them, and it will be found this invention also will backtrack that disease orientation, and it begins to attack the people that broadcast it. Now, that's a way out thing. I want you to remember that I said it just that way. Broadcast diseases will be found to be recognized again. An invention will be made that will backtrack on those diseases, and many other people will begin to die other than just the microbiologists, which, by the way, is another one. The continuation of the death of microbiologists and their assistants will continue. Many pharmaceutical companies will lay off many of its personnel starting this year and into 2008. Atlanta will become the new capital of the U.S. and will actually rival China in building new structures and buildings. Now that will come more obvious in 2009. That's a far-reaching one. But each year we'll find that more and more Atlanta will become the hub. The new Atlantis, in fact, will be what it's called. Nanotechnology will enter heavily into the medical field, into the industrial field in 2007 and 2008. The use of cyborgs and robots in the armed forces and civilian, also what you would call culture and manufacture, will grow tremendously, so much so that they will find that they have been replacing people with cyborgs since 2002. The need to store and bottle juices and that can be kept without refrigeration will be needed more and more, and especially again 2007, 2008, and 2009. And I caution people now, start to save things that can have citrus in them and things that can be used as what they would call exalters of the immune system. It's very necessary because a lot of things would not be able to be shipped as they were now and as you see them being done now. The need to self-insure or co-sponsor with employees and businesses will become a major business. It will set up a whole new factory, you might as well say, for insurance coverages because the people will be, well, I don't want to say why. We can get into that later. That's one of the other things there. A formidable coalition between Teamsters, longshoremen, the conservative church, and Canadian workers will bring the United States to the brink of a civil war due to what is called NASCO. And that's now why I want to get into the NASCO situation, because that is something that's going to open up many, many, many more doors. And then after that, there are two other predictions I'd like to make after that discussion, if you give me time at the end.
Sure.
It's going to be the culmination of what people are talking about, this 2012 thing.
Okay.
Now, what you asked about was North American Super Corridor Coalition, but they refer to it as NASCO, the North American Super Corridor Coalition. It's a 10-lane highway that will run through the middle of the United States. Now, before the audience starts to call in, I realize that there are two other ones on each coast, but this is the main central one that I'm talking about. It's a 10-lane highway, 5 forward, 5 backwards, that starts from the port of Lazaro Condolimas. That's north, it's in Mexico right off the coast. It will go up to the Mexican border at Laredo, Texas. It'll go on to the Canadian borders through Duluth, Minnesota, all the way up to Winnipeg, Canada. They will also use what is called the electronic Sentry system. That's spelled C-E-N-T-R-I. It's actually an acronym. But it's a system that will allow trucks from Mexico to zoom through the United States without stopping all the way to Kansas City. And at Kansas City is where they have now structured and are still building a new smart port. It's a customs office where it will be located. No vehicles coming down that will be stopped by any of the gendarmes, by any of the state police, or anybody else as it goes to the United States. They'll be off limits. And they will have a sticker on them, and that sticker will automatically excite the tollway, to the toll booths and stuff like this, and so therefore the gates will not come down for them, but they'll be coming down for you.
Okay.
Now, this was all started by an agreement between George Bush, President Vicente Fox, and Prime Minister Paul Martin of Canada at that time. It was called the SPP Agreement, the Security and Prosperity Partnership. And that was done on March 23rd, 2005. They, first of all, got $2.5 million of the financing that came from the United States Department of Transportation. But they have billions, and are still being poured into this country from Spain. And that's why you're going to find the Spanish workers and Mexican workers and those from South America will be hired and not the regular workers. Now, blacks are going to get all upset about that because they want to know why. Whites will crash into it as they usually do. But the reason is because the money, $2.5 million, is coming from your taxes, but the rest of it is coming from Spain through a company called Centro Concesión. Centro Concesión. It will be leased now, once this is built, by the Texas Department of Transportation as a toll road. Now, all this money put up, and then that toll will be paid to Spain. It will not come into the United States citizens' pockets at all. Secondly, or thirdly, or wherever we're going on this particular thing, this particular road, of course, is going to cause all kind of divisiveness, per se. What happens is that the ports are on the ocean there because we discovered that many of the ports on the west coast of the United States are owned by Spain and owned by China. And when people found this document, they said, oh, well, that was just something, there was nothing to it, they were going to revoke it. They haven't revoked anything. What they've done now is they're going to open up a port that's not in the United States. Therefore, United States citizens cannot cry out about it. And this coalition that was put, let's say, with Vicente Fox, Paul Martin, and Bush are the ones now that will be allocating where that money is coming due and all the way through. It's going to start such a mess with the people that they'll begin to almost come into a civil war here. It's already being threatened because of the continued usage of troops over there in Iraq and Iran, or soon will be Iran. That's another one of the predictions, too, that unfortunately, and I surely hope I'm wrong, that Israel will attack Iran probably in the next 60 days, or even less, maybe in the next 30 days. And I can give reasons for that later on, too, to verify that. That being the case, then the United States will be put on a sure, we'll say a non-solid footing, but it will also increase the manufacture of arms and things like this, which will then begin to make the economy boom because the people will be manufacturing. But the only trouble is, toward 2008 and 9, most of the manufacturing will be done in China and not in the United States. Those are some heavy things, I know, but we can go further, but that's, I think, enough right there on a plate to begin to get some discussion.
Definitely. Why do you think Israel will attack Iran?
Well, a number of reasons. But the biggest thing is what's happened recently. The Israel purchase seemingly through, I've heard this in the Wall Street Journal, I've seen this in the internet, places like this, they bought what they call retrofitted gasoline tanks from France to put on their fighters and bombers. Now, the only reason you would do that kind of expense, would be if you want to make a non-stop spot without having to land anywhere, not using the aircraft carriers, anything else. You just land, you go there, do what you're going to do, and come back. And they presently are almost refitted almost all of their personnel carriers and their bombers and their fighters there. Secondly, you've got part of the 3rd and 4th Fleet over there in the Gulf, which includes 2 aircraft carriers. It means 2 attack troop carriers, which carry usually 4,000 Marines, so you got 8,000 Marine there. And anytime you get those ships, it's usually 20 ships to a fleet. And that also means at least 2 nuclear submarines there, which means they have now 4 nuclear submarines right over there. Of course, and those are the ones that have the long-range ballistic missiles. Too much evidence will show that this is what is being planned.
What do you think will happen from this type of attack?
Oh, hell. What will happen from this type of attack will put the Islamic world up in arms again. You know, they had during, I guess through the latter part of the 80s and into the 90s, as you know, again, it was financing through the United States that propped up Hussein and all the governments that were over there in Iraq. And they fought, of course, they paid Iraq to fight Iran, and Iran fought Iraq. The money sent from Israel was sent to Iran to bolster their troops, and so that condition was going on. There was a good friendship and camaraderie with Hussein at that particular time and Osama bin Laden. So again, like I said, this is nothing new that has happened. It's just now it's getting to be vicious because the Islamic world is coming against the United States and Israel collectively. You see, they've always been, but not so much now that they can actually use Iraq as a feeding ground for the people that they train. So not only now United States troops fighting the Iraqis, they're fighting anybody in Islam that wants to come there and fight the United States. So that's going to bleed out the troops in the United States more and more, and people are going to get tired of it. For sons and daughters finally waking up that they're being used for slaughter purposes.
What I want to ask you too, Doc. You talk about this New World Order Commission report. Is this involved with this?
Yeah, that's the one. I think it was the report from Iron Mountain or something where they paid people for almost a year and a half, I guess, commission, good money too, to find out the feasibility and possibility of peace. And the final standards were that there could be no peace. There must be a war, controversy in order to control the economy, population, means of distribution every 15 to 17 years. Now, and it also stated, it was in that report, that famous statement that it also was needed to get rid of useless eaters and growing weeds. And they said 3.5 million people in the United States were exploited, were not exploited, could be gotten rid of, and 5.5 billion off the planet. And believe me, they're working hard to get that done.
All right, want to take a call?
Let's go.
All right, 837-1112. Our phone lines are open here on The Message. If you're listening via the internet at www.wufoam.com, you can reach us at 716-837-1112. We will take a call. You're on The Message.
Hello, yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent show. I had a question about use of laptops and computers. Aren't we getting radiation from those? You know, you got your satellite laptops, you can take them around the house. What about that?
Yes, and many people put them in their laps. And that's right. Ridiculous. It's bad enough to sit it in front of you. Put it on your lap is crazy. Because the radiation is going. It's going right into the groin, right into your midsection, the whole bit.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to put a diode on the back of it. What you do is, when you find these devices that have a chassis or a housing where that wire comes out of the housing, not at your wall, because we're working on that too, to put one on the junction boxes and circuit breakers, but you put that on the back. If necessary, put 2 or 3. If you can afford to have it and you don't want to get sick, you need to put them on the back of that, just above or below where that wire disappears into the chassis.
Okay. Now, do you sell them, or you?
Yeah, we sell them. Yeah,
okay.
That's why I got it. I'm looking for solutions for some of these things. Every time I can find a solution, we have a huge website. We have about 18 different kind of magnetic devices, and that's to speed up healing and take away pain. It causes the red corpuscles to carry more. And we've got about 15 different kind of diodes to adapt to whatever situation you need, from your building to your body to your bed to your food. Whatever you're trying to use, we have a diode for it.
Now, I have one more question. You're talking about the sea monsters or these other predators that are coming up out of the ocean. Could you give us some more details as to, are there articles on this? Are there?
Yeah, we got a movie coming out called Aragon. It's playing in most of the places. They always tell you what's happening. Well, you got these sea monsters and serpents that are being seen now. And supposedly Aragon has the flying serpent that flies, that has this breathing dragon and all. People don't want to believe that. We have we have pictures at 9/11 of a flying pterodactyl behind one of the buildings. And it's very easy to see. I didn't doctor it up. We have that again. In fact, we've got pamphlets on almost every occurrence from 9/11, Vietnam, the whole bit, things that you normally don't hear about when these things are happening. The problem is here that as this global warming continues, and the process that I say, and I want to close with this, is going on this planet, it's driving these creatures that we thought were extinct, but only they're dormant and living inside Earth, it's driving them up out of the Earth, through the oceans, through the corridors, through the caves, every place else.
Yeah, if you go to the MSN site, they have a picture of they called it a living fossil. And that's a shark the Japanese just brought up, I think, a week or two ago. Wasn't it, Doc?
Yeah.
That was just a week or two.
We're not just talking about fossils now.
Yeah,
we're talking about those things that made fossils.
Yeah, they called it a living fossil, but it's a shark that
they've
never seen before.
They always disguise stuff. They have what they call now, what do they call this thing? A natural reactor that they found in Gabon, okay? A natural reactor. I don't know what a natural reactor is. You see what I'm saying? And that's another thing, like I said, you're going to find. Did I tell you one about the pyramids I've come up with?
Right.
I got into that one, right?
Right.
Okay, well, that's another thing. And they're going to hide that like mad, too, because that also means that there were some other things that must have happened, and that pyramid is not at all anybody's Khufu or anything else again. That thing was used as a generator, and they removed the crystal, and they removed the big lens that was on top. But that has caused a lot of problems. In fact, that's one of the curses on the black people who use that thing wrongly. We don't understand that.
All right, anything else, caller?
No, I have 50 other questions, but
well, you can. I'll give you you can ask.
Oh man! All right, thank you.
All right, thanks for the call. 837-1112, 837-1112. We're on with Dr. Delbert Blair here on the message today from 12 to 1. You can reach us at 837-1112. You have a question for Dr. Delbert Blair, one of the best minds that we have throughout the African diaspora. Dr. Blair, how can people contact you about some of the great products that you have that can offset some of these problems? A lot of people don't realize there seems to be more and more towers being put up each and every day. Have you noticed that too in Chicago?
Oh, you better believe it. I tell you, we're going wireless. We're not going wireless. I'm just a victim of circumstances. Wherever I was born now, I don't fit because I'm not for this new regime and this global authority that wants to take over the whole planet. Yeah, they got these towers up everywhere. And wireless means that there'll be all the wires cut down or disused and everything broadcast through the air. And when you do that, I mean, you're just asking for nothing but trouble again. The diodes, of course, will help to a great extent. We've even got one now that will be coming out probably in the next 30 days. You can put on a junction box, and I'm just perfecting. I'm checking out on mine now too, where you get your circuit breakers and stuff. You know, in the United States, we use a 12-cycle program for everything we plug in. That's why when you take your devices and appliances to Europe, so they won't work, or they'll even blow, because they use 6, we use 12. There's no need for that extra cycle. It's just, again, making the thing more expensive and giving you more harmful productive radiation into your body. So, yeah, 708-422-6685, 708-422-6685. You can order it, or if you want to use your credit card, we take them all. You can go up on the internet at www.themetacenter.com. That's TheMetacenter.com. And you can scroll through. We have a lot of information up there, a lot of tapes and things we're talking about, and a lot of DVDs and CDs and the whole bit.
All right, 837-1112 is the number. Our phone lines are open here on the message today with Dr. Delbert Blair. We're going to take another call. You're on the message.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm trying to see if you're saying dial, D-I-A-L, or is it...
D-I-O-D-E-S, diode.
Okay. And concerning the crystal in the pyramid, could you elaborate on that? And the speech that was given on that intermission time didn't come out clear, and how could you go about purchasing one?
Okay, the diode and the pyramids, again, it's a crystal pyramid that we're utilizing. It uses magnets. It uses... I won't say, well, we even have a secret thing we put in there, too. It's a gold formulation. It uses what they call what do they call this thing? I can't think. I can't think of it right now. But it's very powerful. It generates, again, energy on a very high spectrum that can nullify some of the energy that's being given on these ELF waves, these extra low frequencies. The high frequencies, the planet puts out all the time. We walk in a sea of radiation, but it's so fast it goes right through us. Those harmful ones get inside and they play back and forth and tear up the cells, so on and so forth. You couple that, it's very interesting too. They keep telling women to go get these mammograms.
Yes.
And so what do they do in the mammogram? They compress the breast, breast. They shock you. They shoot this radiation through you again. The attendant runs out of the room. They put lead shields everywhere again, and they tell you should get at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Well, if you didn't have anything wrong, by the time they compress and radiate, those cells will begin to alter because the cells are becoming very sensitive due to all this radiation that's constantly fighting. They even have now what are called broadcast diseases, and that is just a crime against anything. The broadcast diseases mean that they can take, I'm going to go to a basic fundamental, it's childlike, but let's just go be childish. They can take a little petri dish like you use in your basic biological labs, put you a germ or a specimen in there that has an amplification, and this germ is so supposedly is bad for you, or this virus is bad for you. Virus means they've already mutated, it's crystallized, but whatever. Now they can take the frequency. Anything that has a life source to it or positioning has a frequency. They can then record that frequency, put it through amplifiers and towers, broadcast it through the air. Your body picks it up. Your so-called right brain or subconscious brain picks it up and begins to defend it by creating T cells and so like this. And now you're overworked and overstressed. In addition to which, the stress value of other radiation that you're getting from all the other things, plus the news that you hear every day, now when the actual virus or nameplate comes in there, you got nothing to fight with.
Right.
Now, the speech, sister, that was a speech by Booker T. Washington back in 1910. So I don't know how much clearer we can get.
Yeah, I can tell it's all, but he was a very well person.
Brilliant man. Brilliant man. I appreciate you listening. Doc, we're about out of time. Once again, it's always a pleasure to have you on The Message. Can you just put out your contact information again?
708-422-6685. 708-422-6685. On the internet, www.themetacenter.com. www.themetacenter.com. Didn't get a chance to get my final two in there again, but that's okay. I thank you very much for at least going there with me, brother. And like I say, man, you stay strong, stay sincere, and stay sovereign.
All right, Dr. Blair, hold on for 1 second. I'll put you on hold.
Thank you.
All right, that's all for us here on The Message. We will see you next week right here on The Message.